Hello everybody, and I would like to say that normally I like to base a lot of this work on using real life study and then applying it to the worlds of Fallout and other series. However, you could make the argument that this is more based on a choice, a headcanon, a personal writing, if it were. Our subject today is Glory. She's a badass, she's a warrior, she makes you realise you may not ever make it to the top ranking member of the Railroad. Sometimes you wish you had her as a companion and not Deacon, but maybe that's the way she likes it. Maybe she needs people at a distance. Maybe she has something bubbling under the surface, waiting to etch its way out. What could this secret be? Well, as we learn from Deacon's loyalty, nobody really knows anymore who is and is not a synth in the Railroad. Glory was, according to the wiki, rescued by the Railroad in 2280 on a mission that is pretty tricky and is only able to be completed by one synth at a time. As we learned from the Railroad questline, there are synths and even some Institute staff who are sympathetic to the synths and are the people helping the synths escape to the surface. The Railroad and the Institute do not know the identity of any of these characters, which gives us a bit of a gap that seems to be glory-shaped, a glory-shaped hole, moving on. The glory hole. So we're going with that title. Great. Glory chose to keep her memories in the Fallout lore and decided that that was how she chose to be. She did not want to mask behind the idea of being human. She wanted to retain something about herself, something that she either didn't want to let go of or couldn't. Glory has a deep connection to some of the other synths she's helped, and seems to take an almost Arcadian view of how synths should live, especially when it comes to G519, the synth who is seen as brain damaged and does not seem to be as easily convinced as others at the time of you asking, maybe let my mate puppeteer the mentally disabled approach to synth lives. In fact, Glory seems to see things like this in almost a parental role, or something way closer than those who just happen to also be synths. Glory also is no time waster. Once she's out of the Institute, she's training Railroad agents, including Tommy Whispers, training him to be a heavy operator in just a year after her escape from the Institute. This shows she has to have a hell of a good amount of training. Perhaps she was a courser once. I mean, we have seen it where some can want out, but she doesn't seem to be as crap in combat as X688, or at least how I found him. Not as painstakingly edgy as Chase in Far Harbor, and not as desperate to forget everything as Harkness. Which makes me think of one more thing. Who has the skills, the humanity, and unaging power of a synth all in one? The man I want to make a cereal bowl out of, it's Kellogg. Kellogg is a mercenary hired by the Institute who, as you can see in the Memory Den quest, cannot age a day in 70 years. He also does not have a synth component and only has noticeable mechanical parts in his head because of how long ago they brought him into the fold. With all the points I've given you, I suppose we can get to the conclusion of this theory. Conclusion. If you look at the very ending in Fallout 4, Glory is dead. It doesn't matter what happens, she perishes. This is something that I can explain if you hear my conclusion that Glory was meant to be Kellogg 2.0. Let's look at it, okay? With an improved set of outcomes over the 70 or so years that Father has been in control, all the improvements to a Merc could be made almost like nanomachines. The same stuff that's in the synth's bones. Then, with that, you have another efficient killing machine. Someone without the worry that they'll see themselves as a second class to humans and can be the bridge between human and synth, improving their relations. You have Kellogg train this individual with just about every weapon available. Practice on some raiders, the usual. Then practice on some lower rank synths. Work them up. Boom, you have the perfect agent, but unfortunately for both sides of this war. Also, with some understanding of how the Institute works, helps keep some pretty obvious safe houses hidden, helping with a level of spycraft, but also, as one person, you will be outwitted, or some of your less skilled compatriots might be at the very least. Is it not odd how Glory's missions don't really fail? The locations she holds don't fall until they are either directly pointed out to the Institute or the Brotherhood of Steel unleash an uncomfortably large amount of walking tanks on a spy network? Then, on top of that, why is it Glory dies no matter what happens? Even if you win? Easy. She sees herself as the loose end. She either doesn't fight as hard as she could and knows that the sole survivor will carry the railroad through the Brotherhood attack, or the Minutemen can carry the safety of the synths and or the railroad operations. Or if she sees it really necessary, well, she can tie that loose end herself. Glory not wanting to take assignments of synths and her protection of the rights and memories of G519 come from a place of love, but also guilt. She knows her role in all that suffering that she caused. She makes sure she can never do it again, to give a step between who she once was and who she is now, to try and recapture an innocent once lost. She also doesn't want to be taken back by the Institute, and will even take herself out to avoid it. Glory strikes me as someone who does have this depth, and as we saw with Deacon, lying about synth status seems pretty par for the course, and with that missing synth component, made me need to find her some depth that I could feel she deserved so very much. Go ahead, agree with me, disagree with me, argue with me in the comments, tell me if this was a good idea or not. But following the video on Clover, I've started to realise maybe some of these characters could be better written, or even if we just personally hold on to it, it makes it a bit better overall, doesn't it? I mean, hey, anyway, Bethesda, if you're listening, I'm available. I've heard that Fallout New Vegas 2's coming out. Get me on that. I'll be great. I could voice somebody. I could help you write a decent character. Anyway, look after yourselves and I'll see you next time. If you like this video, if you like what I talk about, if you like all of this stuff, I would really appreciate if you can like and subscribe and share it. A lot of the stuff I do on here means I can't monetize things. It's very difficult to say, hey, YouTube's business practices are really crap, and then go on to try and say how they should pay me money for saying that. So instead, I would really appreciate if you find the capacity to drop some money in the Patreon, because at the moment I'm able to do these pretty frequently because obviously I have some level of, basically my wife is looking after me. And I'm also doing some voice acting work and all that kind of thing. So if you want to see me do these things, if you want to see me go further, and you want to support my work, please
do not hesitate to drop some money in. It would be a massive godsend, if I'm honest. So thank you very much, and have a lovely week, day, month, or even your year. No, that's not even a thing. And I hope to see you again. Thank you.